Well, hello there, friends and family. So good to see you again today. I know it's been a while because we've been looking into several things. But I wanted to come to you today and talk about one that I think you've heard, and I know I've heard far too many times. It's become really a prevalent phrase, and it actually started in the fall of 2020 and has continued throughout the remainder of 2020 and 2021. And what might that be? Well, that would be, we are going to see, it's coming, the long, dark winter. And with that said, are we prepared? How have you prepared? And what does it entail? You'll hear this many times in reference to many different things that are brought up. Food shortages, product shortages, fuel and energy shortages, political strife. So let's take a look at that tonight and see what we can expect and what might be coming, and are I and you prepared to survive the long dark winter that is about to descend upon us. So for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to concentrate and go through every aspect and meaning of the phrase, the long dark winter. Yeah, I think we're all aware that food shortages, product shortages are happening in varying different areas of our country, here in the U.S., as well as the U.K. and Europe and other countries, for various reasons, whether it's the backlog in the ports or what have you. And I'm not going to go into the political meanings and underlying causes, whether it's a left or right issue, whether it's the coming of the Great Reset or the New World Order. What I'm going to concentrate on this evening is the fact that fuel prices and possible potential fuel shortages are going to be driving up the cost of what it takes for you to heat your homes and for you not only to be comfortable but to survive the oncoming long dark winter. But another thing I'd like to say at this point is, have we all seen long dark winters before? Well, this particular phrase goes all the way back through the history of man. Depending on where you are in our nation, UK, Europe, Asia, or what have you, the winter is always seen as far too long, dark and gloomy. Many enjoy the winter months. Many do not. And this happens mostly because, as I've seen in my own experience with age, yes, there was a time when I too enjoyed the long cold winter, the snows, the ice, oh yeah. But now, in the winter of my life, being a senior, not as much as I once did. But what this video is going to concentrate on is survival. What can we do? How can we heat our homes? What will the cost be? That's going to be the primary focus. The cost of heating our homes. And I even touched on this in a previous video, where I got so concerned because of what I was seeing, not only on mainstream media, but on social media. The soaring, skyrocketing, record-breaking prices of natural gas, heating oil, and propane. Shortages throughout our nation. And the insane prices and shortages that are facing the UK and Europe, where many of you, my viewers, live today. So, That's the concentration of the video. So let's get down to it and take a look at what we're currently seeing. And have we seen that before? Have we lived through it during our lifetime? So for me, like always, I tend to focus on what impacts me directly. Me, my friends, and my family. And my primary heat source here at my home, as well as my children's and my grandson, is natural gas. My primary heat source is natural gas. My secondary is electric. And you might be thinking right now, well, I don't even heat with natural gas. It's not a big factor in my life. Well, you'd be wrong. Because what you might not understand is the primary fuel for electric generation, not only in the U.S., but the U.K. and Europe, is natural gas now. It surely is. Making up anywhere from 40 to over 50% of the fuel used to generate electric power. So in fact, if the prices are skyrocketing, heading to the stars, becoming astronomical. Oh yeah. If you heat with electricity, it'll affect you too. So that's where, after hearing this for weeks and weeks, that I wanted to take a look into this and dig a little bit deeper and see what the impact would be. As always, I look at this from my own financial standpoint, now being retired and on a fixed income. And you might as well say, a lower income. See, I know the prices of energy affect the poor, those living on low incomes and fixed incomes first. Those on more moderate to high incomes, yeah, it'll affect them some. But as much as those of us, not so much. So here we are. We're at one of the sites that I use to track this information. It's called Trading Economics, and I'll leave a link to this website below the video. So you can see for yourself now and in the time in the future that you so desire to check where things are going and what impact it may have upon you. But let's read something here. And this is primarily right now in regards to the U.S. natural gas prices. It says right here, U.S. natural gas futures firmed around $5.7 per million British thermal units. And that's something that is to be noted right now. That's how they are marketed and traded here in the U.S. It's a little bit different in the UK and Europe that I will show you in a little bit. And that's, per million British thermal units. And this is what they say. It firmed around $5.7 per million British thermal units as it bounced back from a near 2-week low of 5.3 US dollars hit on November the 1st as traders weighed official inventory data while prospects remain strong for U.S. liquefied natural gas exports. The EIA natural gas stockpiles increased by 63 billion cubic feet last week as expected, slowing from an 87 billion cubic feet addition in the previous period. Meanwhile, foreign prices received a boost after Russia's state-run energy giant Gazprom announced that it did not receive any extra pipeline capacity to send fuel to Europe in early 2022, despite President Putin's assurance to the markets that there would be enough gas to fulfill Europe's needs. U.S. futures touched a 12-year high in early October, and global prices hit fresh records last month, helped by low stockpiles in Europe, rising demand in Asia, and an unprecedented energy crisis across the world. Sounds pretty ominous, right? It sounds like it's just going to drive us all into poverty and break the bank. But let's drop down a minute and take a look at things. And here's the chart you'll see on so many articles, mainstream talking heads and social media, and it looks rather scary, doesn't it? You see that meteoric climb into the stratosphere, which if we go down, and let's just check the low, down here as of December 2020, natural gas per million BTUs was trading on the U.S. market at $2.32 per million BTUs. Now today it's trading at $5.67 for the same volume. It surely is. Well over 120 some odd percent or more than what it was back in January at the start of the year. Now that is concerning to you and was concerning to me. It's not as high as it has been. At its peak this year, it was up to $6.31 per million BTUs. But something that I was curious about, because, my memory has not quite faded, even though I'm getting older. Have we seen this before and experienced it? Well, let me show you something here. And maybe all of y'all will remember this too. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down and switch this chart to all. Hold on to your seat. Let's take a look. If indeed this is record-breaking territory, or have we one time before seen it just as bad or worse? Well, when we refresh that and we go all the way back, which this chart here goes back to 1990, May, you can see where we're at here at $5.66 per million BTUs. But you're going to see some huge spikes in the past years. We're going to come over and try to get this thing to lock on right there. And you're going to see, and what you need to be looking at is up at the top of the graph, not over at the sidebar where the crosshairs are. And you can see at one time, back in December the 1st, 2000, that same volume of gas, a million BTUs, was trading at $9.77 per million BTU. Oh yeah. Quite significantly higher than what it is now at $5.66. I remember this well, because on that date, my gas company here in my little small town, the city of Tallahassee, increased rates significantly. But that wouldn't be the first time or the last time that we saw this. We would see a far greater increase on September the 1st, 2005, when natural gas prices went up to $13.92 per million BTU. Oh yeah. Then again, after it had dropped down, we would see it spike again to $13.35 per million BTUs. So in effect, is the $5.66 per million BTUs, is that catastrophic? Has that something we have not seen in the past? Well, as you just saw, we've seen far worse than what we're seeing now. Now, with all that being said, is it going up over 139%? A significant increase, especially for those that are living on lower incomes, fixed incomes? No, it definitely is. I know it is for me. And I know it is for many of my viewers here. Most of us which do now live on Social Security, with a little bit of interest we get from savings and annuities. Yeah. It's not like we can just all of a sudden go out and make more money. So it's going to have an impact on how we heat our homes, how comfortable we are, and the decisions we make starting in the winter of 2021 throughout the season into 2022. And it doesn't matter, folks, whether you heat with natural gas or electricity. But others heat on other forms of fossil fuels. They use heating oil. I know heating oil was a large daily discussion by my relatives up in the northeastern states, where my primary family originates from, Pennsylvania and New York State. It seemed to be a topic of general conversation every year, bitching about the high cost of heating oil. Now, growing up, what did my family use primarily for a heat source? Well, that was primarily propane. We lived in a mobile home park, up until, I would say 1972, 1973, using propane. Then when we finally were able to buy a piece of land and a house, we also heated on propane. But before we switch over and take a look at those two costs, and what that'll be costing people, you might be saying, thank God, I'm not heating with natural gas, I've got propane or heating oil. Well, hold on to your hats. But before we go there, let's take a look at why what we're seeing in the U.S. is not anything near what some of our friends and family are facing in the United Kingdom and the European Union. Okay? So, where we're at now? Well, we're over here at Trade and Economics, the EU natural gas prices. And this affects the UK and the European Union, where many of my viewers, my friends and family also live. I still have family in certain parts of Europe and the UK as well. And even though things look as bad as they do in the US, they look a lot worse in other parts of this world. And it is because of what's happening in Europe right now that also impacts the natural gas prices here in the U.S. It surely does. And the reason being is because we export natural gas from the U.S. Yes, we surely do. It's exported as liquefied natural gas, LNG. And because of that, as you might suspect, money-grubbing corporations want to make the most from their product. So we are shipping record amounts of liquefied natural gas to the European Union and the UK to help them. And that's not a bad thing. But let's take a look at it right here now. And you'll see gas prices in Europe bounce back from 75 euros a megawatt hour. And that's something I want to bring up right now. See, they trade a little bit differently than what we do. In the U.S. market, it's traded per million BTUs. In the European market, it's traded on the amount of natural gas that's used to generate 1 megawatt of electrical power. Yeah. And to put this a little bit in perspective, even though the 75 euros that they state here, as I have read, is way above if you think we were paying $5.66 per million Brit thermal units. Seems almost unbelievable. How can they afford to even heat their homes? They're surely going to freeze to death and die. Well, to put this in a little bit more perspective, you have to understand it takes 3.4 million BTUs to generate a megawatt. So you have to divide the 75 euros by 3.4, which brings down, so we can get a comparison between the European market and our market, to 22.5 euros per million BTUs. That is still extreme, isn't it? When you think about they're paying 22.5 euros for what we're paying, 5.66 US dollars. So, as I say here, 75 euros a megawatt hour from a 6-week low reached in the prior week, as gas flows increased from Germany to Poland, while those entering the continent from Russia declined. The latest data from grid operator Cascade showed Russia gas shipments entering Germany's Malno compressor stations dropped to zero as of this past Saturday, at a time when flows moved faster to the eastward. Moreover, Russia gas transit to the EU via the Ukraine also declined, and a major pipeline in Bulgaria impacted flows to Romania, Serbia, and Hungary. Adding further pressure on the already tight market was the halt of gas flowing to Spain from Morocco after the end of a 25-year transit deal between Spain and Algeria. Natural gas prices hit an all-time high of 162 euros a megawatt hour on October the 5th, and have since declined by over 55% on the hopes that supplies will increase from the help of Russia. Now you wonder why Russia keeps coming up in all this. Well, Russia is the number one major supplier of natural gas to the European Union. Oh, yes it is. And I knew when that happened, that would become a serious political tool in the Russian tool bag, and in fact, control all of Europe. And so it has played out. But let's take a look at it down here in the chart below, okay? So you can see here, if we look at this chart, you can see it's currently trading at 76.54 euros per 1 megawatt on their spot market. What was the lowest? Well, the lowest back in November 4th, 2020 was 13.88 euros for the same volume of gas, 1 megawatt. So that is, I'm not even going to do the math, insane. It surely is. But like I say, you got to divide that by 3.4 to get down to the same comparison it is here in the U.S., where our spot market is traded in a million BTUs, which still puts it at 22.5 per million BTUs. But when you set all to take a look at the chart in Europe, which only goes back to what, 2010, 11 years, you can plainly see the astronomical climb in natural gas in Europe. So that is definitely severely impacting not only their ability to heat their homes this winter, but power generation. In fact, what has happened, and I knew it would, with the implementation of the pipelines from Russia to feed natural gas to the European Union and the UK, yeah, I knew Russia would have a stranglehold on my friends and family on the continent of Europe as well as the UK. Now you might wonder why this is of significant importance to us here in the US. Well, it's because of this right here. The fact that these insane prices that are happening in Europe, they are spiking our prices that we've seen currently in the U.S. And why is that? Because what we're doing now is we've increased our exports of liquefied natural gas from the U.S. to the U.K. and Europe. Yes, we have. Currently, 40% of our natural gas production here in the U.S. is in the form of LNG, liquefied natural gas, and is being sent to countries like the UK and Europe. We're doing all we can to help them. But by doing so, we also increase the prices here for all of us in the U.S. But I want you to sit back and think and not be selfish. Even though you and I, those of us that can least afford it, will take a hit on this, think about what our friends and family are facing in Europe this winter, and what they have faced in past winters if you think about what their prices are normally in comparison to ours. Somehow, I don't even understand at times how they make it over there and they survive. Because if you even think back to the lowest price all the way over here on March 12, 2010, it was at 11.74 euros per megawatt hour, which here again, if you divide that, it would be just under $2 per million British thermal units. Still way above what we have seen at our lowest prices here in the U.S. A little bit of thought to that. Maybe a little bit of sympathy for those who have it far worse than we do here in the U.S. But if you're saying right now, well, thank God I'm not heating with natural gas, and that, like I said, understand, whether you're an electricity user or what have you, if you're using electricity, you got that heat pump outside and you're outside now hugging it, well, you know, your electricity bill's going to see a rise this winter. Surely is. But then again, some will be saying, well, thank God I heat with heating oil or propane. Well, let's take a moment to take a look at those right now. Okay? So now I've switched over. We're at the same site, Trading Economics. But over here, you can take a look at all commodities. And what we're going to take a look at over here is the cost of heating oil and the cost of propane. But when you take a look at this at a glance, you can see right here three commodities down. Natural gas, which is currently trading at 122.69% year to date. That's same day today as it was a year in the past. And you're going, whoo, that's extreme. Well, yes, it is right now at the moment. But let's take a look at heating oil. We're going to take a look at heating oil right here, which is now currently trading at 62.17% year to date. Heating oil right now, per gallon, US dollars, is trading at $2.40 per gallon. Now that doesn't mean that's what you're going to be paying. This is the spot market price. You know, sort of kind of think of it as the wholesale price. What your provider pays and buys it for before he sells it to you. Oh, I can tell you, you're paying way more. And you can look at the same type of chart. It just rises and rises and rises up from the year past. Here again, has this been the worst we've seen for heating oil? Well, again, when we shift this here chart to all, you can see not so much. We can go back right here to June the 2nd of 2008. You know, during that thing that was about to happen, financial crisis, the Great Recession, and heating oil was up to $3.90 a gallon. But you can see right now, all the way back into what? The beginning of the 80s was the highest price. Then, from 2011, it was at $3.25 to January of 2014. It was at $3.27, nearly 28, before it started to decline and come back down. So here again, the $2.40, or nearly $2.41, is by far not the worst we've seen. So, if you're my age or older, here again, you've seen far worse. And somehow we all made it through. But does that mean we shouldn't be making provisions now? Or hopefully you bought your heating oil during the summer season and you're all stocked up, because that's the lowest time you'll ever get it. But another thing we want to look at right now is one other most common heating fuel, not only used in the U.S. but throughout the world. So let's take a look at propane right now. So the last one we're going to take a look at is propane, which you can see is currently trading today here in the U.S. at 115.14% year to date. Now I will say this, up until today, natural gas had been primarily trading far cheaper than heating oil and propane. Of course, as I start this video, you would know that would flip on me. That's just the way it is. But let's take a look at propane, in case you're one of the ones that think, oh my God. Thankfully, I don't heat with electricity. I don't heat with natural gas or heating oil. Well, you can see currently now on the spot market, propane is trading for $1, basically $1.39 per gallon. Now I already know if you went and filled up your tanks or had a delivery, you're paying far more than that. Here again, just look at this as the wholesale price to the companies that sell it to you. And here again, we see the same chart. An astronomical climb from back in November of 2020. It was 56 cents a gallon. Oh yeah. So what do we got? Over a 200% increase. But we're going to hit all again and see where we're at. Now this is a little bit different here on propane, than what we've seen with natural gas and heating oil. You can see here that the high was back in 2011. It was $1.56. It hit another peak in 2014 of $1.46. Then we hit the peak this year at $1.45. So it's been equal to or greater 3 times in the past. So yeah, you've experienced it back in 2014 and years beyond. Where were we at the beginning of this year? On March 2020? Oh, 29 cents a gallon. Of course, I'm sure you didn't get that from your supplier, because his prices were probably set back here in 2018 when it was $1.06. But anyway, in the comments, it would be great for you to let me know what you're currently paying on natural gas, heating oil, and propane in your area. You see, I think that would help all of us. And if you're in the UK or the European Union and you'd like to share what you're seeing on your utility bill, I'd be extremely curious. You know, I still have family in Ireland, in Scotland, in Britain, in Germany, Austria. Oh yeah. Yeah, they are distant family. And it's not like we communicate all the time. But this is a situation that we're looking at going in to what has been termed the long dark winter. And like I wanted to do in this video, for not only of those in the U.S. that think things are extremely bad for us now, is to bring up the point that it's extremely worse in other parts of this earth, primarily for the heating season in the UK and the European Union. I cannot even fathom or imagine being on a fixed retirement in those countries or areas. And I'm not sure how in the world they'll make it. And I'm not sure whether, their governments subsidize their utility bills. I don't know any of that. I surely hope they are. But I do know, even though we've seen far worse natural gas, propane, and heating oil prices in the U.S., it's going to have an impact on lower income families, those living on or below the poverty line, seniors living on fixed incomes and retirements. They can't budge. So we all have to make adjustments. And that was primarily the reason when this first popped up weeks back that I started to dig into it. And I even got a little anxious and worried, and I even contacted my local municipal utility company. And I talked to them. And the lady there was more than helpful. And even though she didn't have the answers directly, she said she would get with her manager and call me back. Which lo and behold, she did. And told me what she knew. In fact, she actually had her manager call me. And from the discussion then, the manager told me that at this moment, they were not having a rate increase. But she did say before finally we concluded the conversation that the mayor had stopped in and poked his head in, Mayor Hammond. He loves me and I love him. That's a long story. Said they should expect a rate increase. So there you have it. So will old Mr. Tom here see him rise in his natural gas prices? Probably so. Been forewarned. Do I know the percentage of electricity generated by my electric provider here in the U.S.? Oh yeah, it's about 40%. Like it is in most areas in the U.S. You can look it up. Do I expect my electric prices to be going up this winter? Yes, I do. Now, with all that said, have I made allowances, adjustments? So that all fits within my budget? Oh yeah. I'm not spending anything extra. Will this impact the Christmas season? Well, to be honest, me and my children had already got together, and without me asking or prompting, they basically said, Daddy, we have everything we need, and if we need it, we buy it. And of course, I replied the same. So we all agreed, with the exception of my grandson Davy. Not that he chimed in, but we discussed. We would forego the exchange of gifts this year. In reality, we all discussed and decided, since we had everything we need and all that, it really wasn't necessary. And you know what? Maybe this year, that's the best approach. Maybe, I'm sure my daughter will still do something. It'll probably be some homemade craft. And I will probably do something in return on the same. And this all gets back to my childhood. When we got for Christmas that being the biggest holiday. My parents really tried to make it special. And we would get the most gifts we got any time during the year. Whereas we only got them one other time. That was our birthday, where we might get one or two meager presents. Did I hate my parents? Did I hate life? No. It's just the way it was. And you were grateful for what you got. I remember one birthday where all I got was a book. Oh yeah. It was Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. I loved to read back then. I still do. I loved and cherished that book and have it till this day. I think I was 13 at the time. That's all I got. And maybe some of y'all remember those days too. And maybe this year, doing things with your family, your friends, creating gifts and crafts from the heart and with your own hands becomes far more important than running to Wally World, Costco, Target, or what have you, to buy all the needless crap that 99% of the time is hardly ever used and just put away. I'm just saying. But the point of the video was not that the fact that we are in for a long, dark winter, that the cost to heat our home, whether it be by electricity, heating oil, propane, natural gas, is a fact. But had we seen it once in our lives, or more, in the past, and I think I've showed you, we've seen far worse. Albeit propane is about where it's been several times in the past. Natural gas, far less than what we've seen. As is heating oil. Will we get through it? Those of us with limited to little income to spare? Surely we will. We will get through it. So you see, are we going to be like social media and mainstream media would portray, staring through the ever smaller hole in the pane of glass in our homes as our windows continue to freeze up and close off? Will this be us, bundled up in winter coats, our winter hat, peering through the last remaining hole into the world beyond? Well, I surely hope not. And I surely hope you'll take the time right now, because there's still time. Well, there's a few weeks or a month before it all descends upon us, that maybe you can make the proper preparations, do the proper cutbacks, start reducing your spending right now if you haven't already, so you can put that money aside to heat your home and survive this coming winter. And of course, the preparations you should always have on hand is your food, your water, medical supplies, and all that, like I've told you all before. 2 weeks, hardly nothing. 3 months is good. 6 months is better. And 1 year is optimum. You think about it right now. If you had all your food and other supplies stored up right now for 3 to 6 to 9 months or a year, and you knew you could eat on and survive, and you could stop all those semi-weekly, weekly, or semi-monthly shopping trips and divert all that money and save it to divert to your electric and heating bills, how much better off you'd be. Because that's exactly what I've done here. And you saw it. You saw what I spent. And I'll stretch that for 2.5, possibly 3 months. In fact, I won't go shopping again until I need some more fresh produce or possibly bread. And I'm actually thinking about baking some bread. Yep, been a long time. I keep threatening it. But I may just do it this time. Cost pennies a loaf. And just the time. And what better time to be baking breads and filling up the house with the fine smell of fresh baked bread? That would be the cold winter months. So I hope this video has been informative to you. I hope it gives you a little information on how it looks, where we're going. And it's not even over yet. It's just the beginning of the early onset of the late fall into winter season. Will we see far greater price increases? I surely think we will. I think it will start in the European Union and the UK. Because you see, as I knew in the beginning, when Russia built their pipelines to supply Europe with natural gas, I knew right then that would become their hammer, their control over those European nations. And so it has came to be. Now we here in the U.S., we're doing as much as we can. We're exporting as much liquid natural gas as we can to our friends and family in the U.K. and into Europe. And I do hope they appreciate the efforts. Because it is because of that one factor that our natural gas for every last citizen in America is rising. And that's just a fact. It's just a consequence of global trade. So y'all, I'm going to leave you with this. And if you'd like to put a comment down below the video and how you prepared what you're doing in preparation for this winter and will be doing, I surely would appreciate it. And I do think the community could learn something from each and every one of us that does. As always, if you like the content of the video, give it a thumbs up. Share it with somebody you think who would enjoy it and be informed by it. And as always, until old Mr. Tom sees you on the next video, the Kitty Crew, and Gracie, and sometimes on a rare occasion, Stella. See you on all the next video. Y'all take care out there. Stay safe. God bless each and every one of you as you bless others. Goodbye for now.